Welcome back to the final day of the Star European Championships from the Yacht Club Gaeta in Lazio, southern Italy. We've had 3 days of thrilling competition, 6 races, and today there's only 1 race scheduled out on the beautiful Tyrrhenian Sea just outside the medieval town of Gaeta, which has been looking after us unbelievably all week. Ben's just taking us out with Virtual Eye to the race area, and we hope to be getting some scoreboard up for you. There we go. Okay, so the big story on the last day of the Star Class European Championships is we're down to 2 teams that can possibly win this. In pole position at the moment is Xavier Rohart and Sebastien Guidou on 12.3 points. In second place, flying the flag of the United States of America, we have Augie Diaz and the Brazilian Star Sailors League #1 crew, Bruno Prada. Now, doing all the calculations with just 1 race left, it's either going to be France or the USA that wins the European Championship. That's done. Torben Grail with Marc de Almeida in 3rd. Reynolds and Lambertenghi from the USA in 4th. Lars Grail with Samuel Goncalves in 5th, and Tenke Bezzaretti from Hungary. They are all able to get that bronze position, but none of them mathematically can overtake Diaz and Prada or Rohart and Guidou. Well, it was a hell of a day yesterday and before, and right now we're going to play you some interviews after day 3 with Xavier Rohart and also Augie Diaz. Here you go.
Nice day. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Couldn't ask for more.
It's all about Augie. It's all about Augie.
So you enjoyed today?
Yeah, it was amazing results for us. We are back in the championship, fighting for the championship. We have to wait for the tomorrow. Xavier looks pretty good in the table, in the overall results. So, but we are super happy to be where we are. Maybe we are top 3 now. We are very happy with that.
Augie, we're not even letting you get your gloves off here. What a day! What was your wish today? What were you going out there to do?
Well, we knew to get back into the championship situation, we had to have a day where we were like 2 top 3 races. So Bruno was like very focused on top 3. So we abandoned our original ideas of starting in the middle of the start, and then we got closer to the weather end. And Bruno sailed here before, so he was pretty sure that the right was going to prevail. So we had good starts. Both races we had good starts, and we were able to get right early. And and so Bruno is really largely responsible for having the great day that we had today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruno.
Happy birthday, Augie.
Oh my God, and on your birthday, what else can you ask for, In this type of competition, in this beautiful country and city of Gaeta, Italy, to be able to have a day like today on your birthday, it's the stuff of dreams. It's the toughest dreams.
Great stuff.
I feel very fortunate.
One more race tomorrow?
Yes, it will be hard because Xavier I think really the one you should be talking to is Xavier. He made a statement today. This is my championship. And not only did he had a great comeback in the first race this morning, but in the afternoon race, he was very steady, very close to us. He pounced on us when he was able to pass us, and then it was all over but the crying. So I think Xavier really deserves the big kudos today. Fantastic sailor.
Wow, what a great guy, Augie. I should say Augie Diaz. Hey, only 2 minutes 50 seconds left to this final deciding race. We're going to zoom into the race course with Virtual Eye, and we're going to go straight down and see where Xavier Rohart, Sebastian Guidou are, and as well Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada. Ben, can you let's try and find Rohart and Guidou, Ben. Rod's already spotted it. They are absolutely beside each other. Ben's just going to show us that on Virtual Eye. And we've got Kathleen Tott with us again today. Thank you very much for coming in again, Kathleen. And you had a chat with Augie. Are you going to let us into the secret now? What's he going to do? What's he going to do?
Well, I think these guys, they've got to get off the line in the front row. Xavier has been doing that consistently, but he's been doing it down at the pin-in. And we might see something a little different today. He and Augie have not been next to one another on the starting line at all, well, except the last race yesterday. And they were a little bit punched out there. Today they can't be over the line, so they're going to have to be a little bit more conservative. And they're focusing on beating one another. And so what they're doing right now is they're keeping each other in sight. But there's a lot of boats out there and people sailing at different levels. So you have to navigate not just yourself and the boat you're competing against, but there's other boats out there who can get in the way on the starting line.
Yeah, you were absolutely right. They were right by each other. But interestingly enough, Rohart and Guidou, they were waiting for a load of traffic to separate them. And sure enough, Rohart bore away, and the traffic was in the way, and I'm afraid Diaz and Prada didn't follow them. So there's now separation between the two. We've got Diaz and Prada. They're definitely at the committee boat end, and I think you'll find Rohart and Guidou, yeah, you just picked them out on the left-hand side. So bit of separation at the moment. We've got less than a minute to the start of this race. And let's look at the big picture now. We've got a lot of boats up at the committee boat end. We had some rain and thunder yesterday, which has shook up the weather system a bit. Wright seems to have paid most of the time for this regatta. Looks like a lot of people like the Wright.
Yeah, we haven't been really focusing on the boat end of the starting line, and today definitely a much bigger crowd there. We've got a lot more haze in the sky today, which would also indicate a slightly different day in terms of the weather pattern that we've been seeing. And actually, we see the Swedes, Lofstad and Sundman, they were almost always down at the pin end the last couple of days, and there they are much closer to the boat end. It'd be interesting to see where Mark Reynolds went today and Torben Grell, because they've been perpetual competitors down at the other end of the line. Definitely Diaz and Prada are going to be watching where Xavier goes, but they have to get a good start. They cannot be over, because right now their drop race, their discard race is an 8, so they need to do better than that, and they can't take risks on the line at this point.
Okay, and we've the reason that clock has counted down and we don't have a start is that the committee have raised the AP, and so the start has been postponed. We're not exactly sure why, but obviously Peter Reggio isn't happy with something, and we'll try and get some information from the race course and let you know. In the meantime, we had a chat yesterday with Nando and Federico Conanino. And, sorry, Andy, I'm misreading that. We're going to have the chat we had with the current leader of this regatta, Xavier Rohart. And Sebastian Guidou's getting a little bit wet here, but the interviews with Xavier, which followed straight on after the Augie Diaz. So let's see what Xavier had to say after yesterday's racing. Xavier Rohart, you told us that day 3 was Judgment Day, I believe. You called it Judgment Day. And how did you perform today?
Quite well regarding the conditions. First race was really difficult with a big storm around, and we had to take lots of risk to try and win the race. But Torben was trying to do the same with us, and we lose the battle against him. So the first race he was in front, and we managed to secure a correct place. And the second race we say, okay, go for it. And we take another good chance on the right side, and well, we survived to manage everyone. And but Augie Diaz showed a very strong performance today. He's really fast upwind, and tomorrow will be very difficult, I think, against him.
And yes, talking about today and your battle throughout the fleet, but Augie Diaz, we've just spoken to, he said you stamped your authority. You said, "This is my championship today." Do you agree with that statement?
Since the first day, I try to say that to everyone. This is the one I've never won, so I'd like to have this silver star for the first time. And I do my best, and I try hard every day, every race, to win every battle. It will be 1-to-1 battle against Lars, against Torben, against Augie, or against the weather. What's the favorite side? The current is there or not? The storm going around. So, yeah, we try.
And do you think it's the plan tomorrow? What is the plan for one last race tomorrow?
Didn't decide yet, but for sure we're going to be close to Augie at some point, near the start, on the same side of the racing, and maybe try to push him to make some mistakes. And if this occurs and we are secure in like top 5, I think it's okay for us. And so, but you never know before, because the weather forecast is quite stormy for tomorrow, and you never know what happened. So I don't know. We'll see tomorrow on the race course.
Well, here we are right now, and we are seeing it on the race course. News from the race committee is that there is just over 5 minutes to go to race 7, the final race of the Star European Championships from the Yacht Club Gaeta. And 5 minutes to go. We're not exactly sure why there was a postponement. We are presuming they wanted to move a mark or move the line. Peter Reggio is a highly experienced race officer. America's Cup, you name it. This guy is, a race officer of the highest esteem, and he wants to have this last race perfectly set. And with only one race scheduled for today, he's got plenty of time to make sure that we get a good square line. So anyway, back to the race course. And Ben, could you find us Xavier Rohart, please? Okay, Rohart on course side. Guess he's looking at the wind speed and the angle there in clear air. Would that be about right, Kathleen?
Yeah, after general recall, the sailors will usually continue going upwind, looking at their compasses to find out what phase they're in. They have to be careful that they don't go too far upwind. They want to go upwind for as long as they can. to get a sense of how fast the shifts are coming down the race course. So they might go upwind for 3 minutes, even 5 minutes. But you've got to be looking back for a flag on the race committee boat that signals that they're going to start the sequence. Because as we mentioned yesterday, the sailors are having a hard time hearing the horns for the sequence and also for the Hornet go.
Okay, and let's see where Diaz and Prada are, Ben. Can we see where they are? Rohart obviously looking at the right-hand side at the moment. And, well, that's interesting. So, you know, we just zoomed in on them. They might have been going elsewhere. What do you think Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada are doing there, right in the mix with all the other boats?
Yep, they're going down the line, and they're seeing if the line is square. So the starting line should be exactly at perpendicular to the wind, and so you going down straight down the line, you're looking at the flag on the race committee boat and the flag on the pin end boat, and you're trying to see if one end of the line is favored or not. And you can also tell if there's current pushing you one way over the line or pushing you away from the line. So that'll tell you how aggressive you can be accelerating at go. So those are the things that Augie and Bruno are looking at right now.
Okay, well, with just 2.5 minutes to go, I'm assuming that we're going to get into a final assault on this line. And could you just go to the aerial, Ben, please? Marvellous to be able to control a helicopter like that, isn't it? Wow. A lot of boats up at the committee boat end, a lot of boats over right, more coming this way. What's that telling you?
Well, you know, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult than it was yesterday to start at the boat end. We saw the Hungarians start at the boat end, tack off and go right, and hang out on that side of the course fairly consistently, fairly easily as well. If the sailors are going to want to start at the boat end today, they're going to have to fight for it.
Yeah, and a few of the sailors were complaining that the line was quite short. Is that you know, changing tactics a bit?
For the top guys, no. There's always some space on the line, but the problem is at the favorite end of the line, on a short line, it makes it even more crowded, and that's what the sailors are talking about.
Okay, so with 1 minute and 22 seconds left to go, this is looking like final approach. There's a lot of boats behind the committee boat there. That's going to be a ball of boats. Ben, can we have a look to see where the regatta leaders are? Xavier Rohart and Sebastien Guidou.
Now, for those who haven't been in a Star, we've mentioned many times that a Star boat is a really heavy boat. It takes a long time to accelerate. So if you get up to the starting line a little bit too early and have to stall the boat, you're going to have a hard time getting it to full speed at go. So these sailors are being very careful to keep their speed under control, which they do by easing the sails and also by the skipper heading the boat up or down.
Okay, and there we see it. We've got Diaz and Prada have got a bunch of boats to leeward of them. That's not too good, hey? You know, that means they can't put the bow down to accelerate or maneuver away from the line. Is that fair?
Yeah,
point,
right
Kathleen?
now they're actually in not such a great position. They're going to have to get their nose out in front of Lars Grail. And Lars is just putting his bow down, kind of keeping Augie to leeward. And Augie's bow must be in front of the boat to windward of him.
And there we go. That's the beer, the bang, and Virtual Eye has got at least Brugioni and Sansoni over, and several other boats as well. Let's see if the line's clear. I would be amazed if it is, but and Rod's just got a message there. We are on a general recall for race 7. So. We're going to go back and the boats will have to reset. We'll try and find out for you when the next start will be. But for now, I think we had a lovely chat yesterday. No, we had a lovely chat yesterday with the Italian father and son racing here at the Stars. Now, I tell you what, yeah, let's go for the Ninja. Let's go for the Ninja, Andy. They're getting stressed out the race course. I think we need to take a chill pill here. So here's the Ninja. I'll let you work out the rest. Ben Sternberg, that's a fantastic Ninja get-up, but tell us...
If you can't tell, I'm smiling.
Why are you smiling, Ben?
Oh, we've had an unbelievable time here. Me and Josh were talking from the first practice race when you sail out and you can't see it from here, but there's these cliffs in the old town and you're around the corner and it's almost like sailing an open ocean. And from that moment on, we've just had 3, I guess, or 4 fantastic days of sailing here. I think it's probably the nicest place I've ever sailed. And we had a little variety today, a little rainstorm and a little different conditions from yesterday. Which just made it that much more interesting and that much more of a cool place to sail. So we're smiling, we're happy to be here. We're very thankful to the people who have helped us to get here and just loving every minute of it.
And we had a bit of rain today. Did that? You've had a bit of winter in New York, eh?
Yeah, we have had. We've been lucky enough to be in Miami when there's been racing there, but yeah, a nice warm rain shower in a hot day is nothing compared to 3 feet of ice and snow and all the rest of it that we've had to deal with back there. So not a problem. Washed our sails and mixed the race up a little bit. It was fantastic. It was great.
Ben, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ben. Ben Sternberg, that's a fantastic Ninja get-up, but tell us...
If you can't tell, I'm smiling.
Why are you smiling, Ben?
Oh, we've had an unbelievable time here. Me and Josh were talking from the first practice race when you sail out and you can't see it from here, but there's these cliffs in the old town and you're around the corner and it's almost like sailing an open ocean. And from that moment on, we've just had 3, I guess, or 4 fantastic days of sailing here. I think it's probably the nicest place I've ever sailed. And we had a little variety today, a little rainstorm and a little different conditions from yesterday, which just made it that much more interesting and that much more of a cool place to sail. So we're smiling, we're happy to be here. We're very thankful to the people who have helped us to get here and just loving every minute of it.
And we had a bit of rain today. Did that? You've had a bit of winter in New York, eh?
Yeah, we have had. We've been lucky enough to be in Miami when there's been racing there, but yeah, a nice warm rain shower in a hot day is nothing compared to 3 feet of ice and snow and all the rest of it that we've had to deal with back there. So not a problem. Washed our sails and mixed the race up a little bit. It was fantastic. It was great.
Ben, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Hey. Well, Top Gear fans know all about the Stig. I think that's the sailing version, but I understand you know Ben. Is that right, Kathleen?
Actually, Ben and I had dinner last night, along with his crew, Josh Refkin. As we mentioned before, they're one of the younger teams here. He's 32 years old from New York City, grew up sailing in New York City, and his crew is Josh Refkin, who grew up sailing on a little lake in Connecticut. And actually, Ben came to the Star class from the 470 class. He was a skipper there, but in the Olympic 470 class, you have to be pretty lightweight, and he got tired of being hungry all the time. So he made the switch into the Star class, and the young guys are really happy to come to this class because you have some of the older, experienced sailors who really help them get going. It's a technical boat, but it's really unusual compared to some of the other high-level classes, particularly classes that have been Olympic classes, for people to share information. And for people who don't understand that, it's tuning numbers, it's numbers tension for their shrouds, where they have their mast angled at, and things like that. So it's a nice thing about the Star class that when there are young people who want to come into the class, there is a way for them to get up to a higher level quicker, with the older, more experienced sailors helping them out. And so these guys have an opportunity to come to Europe, race against some fabulous sailors. I know after this they're heading off to a race around the island of Elba, and it's a 4-day race, and so they're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Right, so looks like we're countdown to action, 4 minutes and 30 seconds for the restart of race 7. We don't have any news on any flags that are being displayed, but what we do know is that we're looking at a breeze of about 8 to 10 knots out there from 240 degrees. And it's a 5-leg race. with each leg at 1.5 nautical miles. So let's just talk about the wind direction. 240, Kathleen.
Yeah, 240 is only 5 degrees to the right of where we saw the first windward mark yesterday morning. So the sailors are looking at a course that is pretty similar to yesterday. I'm not sure about the sea state, but we can assume that it is also similar. Now it's already 5 degrees right. The question that the sailors want to know is it going to go further right? And my guess is that probably won't happen until the sea breeze fills in. And that's been filling in probably around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock every day. And we only have one race today. So the sea breeze will not be as strong. They won't have the opportunity to sail in that much breeze today.
Okay, thanks for that. And the committee boat end still looks busy, hey? There's still a lot of boats up there with 3 minutes to go. I know we've got a whole fleet of boats out there, but the real battle for the European Star Championship and that Silver Star, which neither Rohart or Diaz have won before, or Guido, Prada has. That's where we're going to focus for the start of this race. I can see Diaz and Prada right up near the committee boat end, and Rohart and Guido, they're hanging back a bit, but they're certainly up that end as well. So we've got just 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Looks like deja vu to me, Kathleen, from that last start. Can you see anything different?
No, the sailors are going to be watching one another, staying close to the boat. The problem is you don't want to get too far to leeward of the starting line in a fleet this big. There's not a lot of breeze when you get to leeward of the boats, and so you have a hard time getting to where you want to be if you arrive just a little bit too late. And because these are star boats, they're long boats, they're keel boats, and you have a fleet of over 50 boats, this is a long line. So you can't get too far away, particularly if you want to start at one end or the other. So the sailors already have a good sense of how many minutes it takes them to get to the position on the line that they want. But that's with no other boats around them and being able to choose to go where they want, when they want. It's a little more complicated the last minute, the last 30 seconds, because they're looking for a spot on the line. They have an idea, but there might already be a boat there.
And indeed, we just saw a move there, Diaz and Prada pinning Rohart and Guido in down to leeward. Rohart and Guido have responded, but they seem to be turning away from Diaz and Prada, literally saying, we don't want to be there. We're going to get out of that situation. I don't like it there at all. And Rohart and Guido now are... they have now tacked back onto the same line as Diaz and Prada, but it was a clear message from Rohart there. He says, I don't want to be anywhere near you.
Yeah, and actually that wasn't so bad for the French because they want to start, I would say, probably to windward of the other boat, because then they can tack away and get to the right sooner if that's what they want to do. And if the French are above the Americans basically have to wait for the French to tack and go right, or else they would have to slow down and duck boats to get to the right, and they don't want to do that.
Okay, Kathleen, we can see the line on virtual eye there. It's 25 seconds to go. What on earth is going on here? We have a huge number of the fleet over the line with no chance of getting back. This is going to be a general recall, surely.
Well, I certainly hope it is for half of the fleet right now. They are well over the line, particularly the boats from the middle of the line down to the boat. That's incredible and really risky for Diaz and Prada to be over the line like that. They were in clear view of the race committee, so they're going to be hoping that this is a general recall. If not, it's going to be a tough day for them.
Well, there is the start of race 7, and we'll just see how it goes here. At the moment, we have no news that this race is going to be stopped, so we'll just go with it. Torben Grail and De Almeida in first position. Guriev and Kushner second. And there we go. We just got the news. Rod calling out general recall. And you'd have thought, just look at that leaderboard now. The top guys up there, they're probably the big offenders, but that was incredible to see that many boats over on a second restart.
Really risky too. And also we saw our Hungarian friends on the far right where they've been every time, and yesterday they had an incredible day starting every time at the boat and going right, and we saw them there again. Now some of these boats are to continue on starboard tack even though the race has been called off, because they want to see what the wind is doing and what the angle is. So a lot of them don't turn back right away even though they know it is a general recall.
And we've just heard from the race committee, Peter Reggio, no hesitation, black flag. So we are looking at a black flag for the last race of the Star European Championship, race 7. And we'll let you know when the race is going to start. It looks like it's all the fault of the boats rather than the race committee. And the principal race officer said, okay, if you want to play silly whatchamacallits, well, black flag then. And what does that do for Diaz? What does that do for Roja? Does that change the scenario a bit?
Actually, I think that's a breath of fresh air for those guys, because they know that everybody won't be pushing the line at go. People are going to be further back, and that they don't have to take any risks. It makes it easier for them because they know everybody's going to be stepping it back a little bit and won't be so aggressive. When people are aggressive, particularly if you're caught in between two boats, say you've got a boat to windward of you and a boat to leeward of you, and they're both accelerating at say 10 seconds and they're going to be over, but you're in the middle of them, you almost have no choice but to go, because if you don't go, then you're already in the second or third row. And if you do go, they probably won't see you in between those two boats. But with everybody staying back on a black flag, it takes that risk out. It makes it almost a little bit easier for some people.
Okay, but and there's a bunch of boats there that are down the pecking order who are basically saying, well, I don't really care if I get disqualified.
Yeah, that's the thing. They have nothing to lose. They want to get a good start. It's the last race. And maybe they haven't sailed their drop race yet. So they can be OCS and use their drop race. And some people who might be in the middle of the fleet, it's the last race of the series, they're going to be aggressive, be like, this is my start, I'm going to get it. But for the guys like the Brazilians, Diaz and Prada, and the French, they have to be more careful and make sure control the boats around them so they're not pulling the trigger before go.
Yeah, I'd say the one guy that probably doesn't want to see that black flag is Xavier Roja, because he knows if he can get within 4 places of Diaz anywhere in the pecking order, he's won the European Championship.
Yeah, and it is interesting too. I mean, we don't see it that often in the Stars, but there can be some match racing in the starting sequence. And so what we mean by that is boat against boat. And what Xavier would do, or what Diaz and Prada would do, would be to try to push the other boat over the line between 1 minute and go. Because when the black flag is up, you cannot be, and no part of your boat can be over the line. So if Prada and Diaz can push the French over the line, then the French are out of the race. Now, match racing like that's a little more difficult in a Star. They don't maneuver that easily. Yeah.
And Kathleen, as an Olympic sailor, you know the rules backwards rather than me who doesn't. So on the black flag, what's the deal on when you can go course side?
It's got to be at go. So when the clock is counted down to 0, you've heard the gun, your bow can cross the line. So it's the bow. So
you can be on course side before the gun?
No, you can't be on course side between 1 minute until the start. So at 2 minutes, you can be over the line. At 1 minute, 1 second, your boat can be over the line, but you have to cross back under the line before 1 minute.
Okay, gotcha. So 1 minute before you cannot be
correct
on course side. Okay, so 5 minutes to go. Thanks very much. It's really nice to have someone like Peter Reggio as a race officer, seriously, because he doesn't have to give us this information. But he knows that you at home want it, so he gives it to us. So big thumbs up for Peter Reggio, a race officer that's happy to communicate, which is marvellous. So 4 minutes and 35 seconds to go. We've focused in there on Diaz and Prada, and just in front of them is Merkelbach and Bartel, and those guys have been fighting like crazy throughout this championship, trying to retain their title. And I saw Merkelbach come into the race office this morning holding the Star European trophy and handing it over. And he's a lovely guy. He's full of fun and a real fighter. But you could see he didn't want to let go of that trophy.
Yeah, he didn't have his usual spunk this morning. I spoke to him as well just outside the media office here. And he's looking forward to a good day, but definitely seemed a little bit disappointed, especially after yesterday. But he's been sailing a great series, but just not where he wants to be.
Yeah, and it really matters to these sailors out there, this European Championship. Rohart said, he's won the Worlds. He's won an Olympic medal in the Star, and he's never got the silver star at the Star Europeans. So he says he came here and said he really wants this. So anyway, 3 minutes 20 seconds to go. We've got a lot of boats on course side at the moment, but that committee boat still looks busy, Kathleen.
Yeah, I think it's going to remain busy for the rest of the day. And as we said earlier, the committee boat is a sailboat. Often it's a big yacht that can sometimes block the wind if you get too close behind the boat in just a few seconds before the start. But here you don't have to worry about too much of a loss of speed going behind the race committee boat to start. So there won't be a penalty for getting too close to the race committee boat in this case.
Okay, so 2 minutes and about 40 seconds left to go. Let's go to the aerial shot, Ben, so we can see just how skew the fleet is up here at the committee boat end. When we go up like that, I mean, there's a lot of boats still down there, a lot of boats hanging back off the committee boat end. I guess they don't want to get forced over before the start, but hey, the way this is lining up, it's I'd be amazed if we get a clear start here, we could lose some people. That's my feeling.
Yeah, nobody wants to see anybody over in the black flag. They will be signaling the boats that are over. They'll have a whiteboard on a boat at the windward mark with the numbers written down, and the sailors must retire if they see their number. And they don't always see it. And it's really important that they do drop out of the race, because a sailor that's actually not racing, who has a black flag, they can get in the way of another important race that's going on between two sailors who are trying to get points between them to move up and down the rankings. So it's really important that if you have a black flag, that you do stop racing as soon as you know that you have received the black flag penalty.
Okay, so Ben, can we go down to the committee boat and get that nice close-up view? I like that last time. 1 minute and 20 seconds to the start of the last race of the 2015 Star European Championships. Third time lucky, we're hoping. Let's see if it happens. There's a lot of boats still on course side. There's one way on course side there. He's not going to make it back in 15 seconds. And I've just heard from Rod. That is Mark Reynolds there on course side, up at the pin end. And he's struggling to get back. There is, that's at least 4 or 5 boats out of it. If they've been spotted, I can't believe they haven't. Obviously, we got no confirmation on this, but I won't run through all the names, but you can see them there.
I'm hoping that our line here on the screen might be a little off. It's going to be an interesting race.
Rod's just checking the numbers, but, I've got to say, unless that line's in the wrong spot, there is a huge number of boats over. They don't look like they're... well, we'll wait and see, hey? We'll wait and see. So, anyway, 20 seconds to go. And let's zoom in, Ben, on to Xavier Rohart. And
they're actually to leeward of Diaz and Prada, about 2 boats to leeward.
Okay, not where you want to be for Xavier Rohart. That would be Diaz able to control him there. And, hey, that line looked pretty good to me. Rod,
Excellent
I've got to
start for
say.
the Italians, Poggi and Corsi.
Yeah, you like that one. And who's that popped out there with a, is it, yes, Omar, is that an Italian flag? That is the young father and son team. Fantastic. Coranino I think I'll be shot if I've
Well,
mispronounced that
Diaz,
from
not a
Gaeta.
good start for Diaz. Very difficult position where he is behind the Brazilians, and there he goes tacking away. He could not hold there,
Okay.
but it's putting him off to the right-hand side, which is where he wanted to go.
So he might have got banged into the shift there, you think?
Maybe a little bit sooner than he wanted, because right now he's kind of
okay.
let Rohart go off to the side by himself. And again, Diaz and Prati do not have a great lane there. The Italians in front of them are very good sailors, which means they're going to have good speed and a good angle. So it's going to be tough for the Americans to hang there.
Yeah, indeed, and in the foul air there, and you were talking yesterday about you don't want to tack too much. They've already had to put in one. If they could put in a clearing tack and they want to stay, that's 3 tack. That's not good, eh?
It's definitely a lot slower.
Yeah.
And there we've got the Hungarians, where we expect them going to the right-hand side. Always a good start for the Hungarians.
They're over at the pin end, hey? Oh no, they're over. You're right, on the committee boat end. Tenka and Bezzaretti there. Got a good start. We've got a German boat down here, Rauch and Weiss. I was told about my wrong W's and V's and F's the other day. But hey, let's have a look at the leaderboard. We've been racing now for 1 minute and 38 seconds. Torben Grail and De Almeida out in front. Reynolds and Lambertengi in second place.
That's
and
the
just
left-hand
moving
side
with
of the race course.
that's the left-hand
right
side.
now.
All right, okay. And Guriev and Kushnir, they're right up there. Pascalato and Boning, and Fusco and Matucci. Let's have a look at that left-hand side, Ben, where we've got our leader. Wow, that looks like. I mean, we can see from virtual eye 24 meters down to Guriev and Kushnir. So if that's 24 meters, how far back is the right-hand side? Right-hand side looks. Let's have a. Who's over on the right? Tenka and Bezzaretti. Oh, 15 meters. No, I'll take that back. But it's early on in the race. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and.
That is interesting because right now it looks like the wind is to the right. So you would think that the sailors on the right-hand side of the course would be ahead, but that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing the left-hand side of the course favored right now, with Grail and Almeida leading the way. As well as the Ukrainians. We saw them quite a bit yesterday too, and the day before.
Yeah, and Rod, not only is virtual eye working, but he's got some sneaks out on the racecourse. Rod, where do you get these sneaks out on the racecourse? Just amazing. 15-degree wind shift, right. The wind is now 255.
Now that's really interesting because you would think that those boats on the right-hand side of the course with a 15-degree shift would be ahead, but that's not what we're seeing. But with the right-hand shift, it makes it very, very difficult for anybody to tack and go the other direction. If you're going the other direction on a 15-degree shift, you're losing distance on all the boats that are on starboard tack right now.
Yeah, indeed. And just looking at the angle of Grail there, he looks very much like he's getting headed there over on the left-hand side. But obviously, a head turns into a lift when he comes back. So, but Tenka and Bezzaretti now leading, according to Virtual Eye. 4 minutes into the race. We've got a 1.5 mile first beat. And let's have a look at the right-hand side, which seems to be paying.
And that's interesting because the boats on the right-hand side are on poor tack in a right-hand shift. I don't know whether the breeze has shifted back on that side or not, but that is interesting. But they are going out to the right-hand side and building leverage. But it would seem that the next shift would be a left-hand shift.
Yeah, indeed. So what you're saying is at the moment they're getting headed.
And losing distance, yeah.
So they're getting headed and losing distance. And Kathleen's saying, well, why don't you tack on that? Take the header that you've got now and get that height. And then when it shifts back again, what you're effectively saying is if they are on port tack, they're out of phase.
Now, unfortunately, with the computers, we can't see the wind out there. So they could be sailing to more pressure on the race course, which means that they're looking at the water, and if they see more ripples or darker water, that means that there's more wind there, and they could be sailing to more wind.
But yeah, interestingly enough, Torben Grail and De Almeida, all the way out on the left, are still leading, according to Virtual Eye. But I'd like to go to the middle of the race course And we keep saying Rohart. Let's go to see where Diaz and Prada are. I know they're pretty close to each other. So, Ben, can we zoom into Diaz and Prada? There's Rohart and Guido, and there's Diaz and Prada. So not a lot of daylight between those two. Let's have a look at the scoreboard. Where are they on the scoreboard? Are they out the top 20? Yes, they are. Now, Diaz and Prada, 24th. And where is... Oh, and Rohart and Guido, 17th. So at the moment, Xavier Rohart will be very happy with that. They've just split tax. Interesting. So Diaz and Prada getting bad air there. Is that why they went?
I'm not sure about that, but what is interesting about it is it puts them a little bit back into the center of the race course. And you usually don't want to go up to the center of the race course. You want to get to an edge for a couple of reasons. Number one, there tends to be more wind and more pressure just because there's fewer boats around. In the middle of the course, there's a lot of boats and the wind is more disturbed. Also, if you're in the middle, it's very difficult to build leverage on the boats around you, which is much easier from the edge. So for Diaz and Prada to go back towards the middle, they had to have a reason. It's maybe they believe there's going to be a left-hand shift, or maybe they saw pressure there. But in a star, even if they just tried to clear their lane, they can't. It's hard for them to go back right away because it is so slow tacking a boat.
Okay, yeah, and you know what? If I was in Rohart's position right now, I'd just be loose covering Diaz. I wouldn't get too close to him, so there's a chance for penalty, but I'd just stay in the same water as him, and he ain't going to put 4 boats in front of me if I'm right on him.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think he can lose by going over to the right-hand side. He's working himself to an edge, and he knows that Diaz and Prada, at that point, were not working themselves to an edge. And he's got great boat speed. Yesterday, he was able to just sail to the front from anywhere on the race course. So he's got that confidence. He knows if he does fewer tacks and can go full speed forward, he's going to be fine. He does have to worry about the other boats as well.
Yeah, just Rod, one of his spies has told him that Rohart did tack to cover Diaz there. So loose cover looks like the play. What I'd like to do is, can we just go down? We got Diaz and Prada 19th, Rohart, and where's Rohart and Guido? Okay, so 19th, 20th. Thank you, Rod. Okay, just move it up a little bit. Say, give us down to 25 or something. Well, you'll understand my reason. That's fine. So there you have it. At the moment, we've got a big ball of boats that are going to be converging on that top mark together, assuming the same speed. Now, does Rohart want that? Does he want to get in a punch up at the top mark and maybe cop a penalty?
He could. Probably the safest bet is just get yourself to windward of the other boats and being able to use boats as blockers coming into the mark and forcing people to move. These guys are behind right now, so their drop races as it stands are 7th place and 8th place, and right now they're not beating those scores. So they have to get boats between them, and that's a lot easier to push boats between them at a windward mark where the boats are coming together and consolidating.
Yeah, and we just saw an interesting one there. Rohart on starboard, Diaz on port, and Rohart tacked. He had rights. Why?
You know what? I have to say, I was talking and not looking at the
fair.
screen.
That wasn't. I think we sort of covered that yesterday to say Xavier Rohart said, you know what, I want the right anyway, so I'm gonna tack over to the right, and you can come with me, and I don't want to have a situation where you can have any possibility of a protest with me. So you're coming over to me, that's fine. I'm just going to go to the right. I want to anyway.
Well, right now, Diaz and Prada are actually in a controlling position because the French cannot tack out of there with the Americans to windward of them right now. So they have to wait for the Americans to go. If they were out in front of them, they could tack, but they'd have to complete the full tack, or else it would be an infringement, and they'd have to do a circle, which is slow.
And so there you go. There's Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada tacking away. And Kathleen, you're starting to get some fans out there. We've had a comment on YouTube. Kathleen Tock doing a great job on racing strategy. Bravo! Look at that.
Did you also tell them that we
did
can
it-
remote
and-
control all the boats too? Get them to do what we want?
Andy, has there been any comments about my jokes? Oh, all right, okay. Well, you know, we can live and hope, eh? So, so anyway, back to the racing.
There go the French.
There go the French. So Diaz and Prada tacked over to the left.
So that's interesting. Both boats have put themselves into the center of the fleet. Because we talk about sides of the race course, but we're really talking about are you to the right of the fleet, are you to the left of the fleet? And they're in the center, which is they have to be careful. Because there's some other boats out there, that big names who are going to get who are up in the standings right now, and these guys are pretty far back. And also, when you're further back in the fleet, there's more boats, people with less experience. You can't always control that many boats around you when you get in the middle of the fleet. So it'll be very interesting when we converge on the windward mark.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Ben, can you just show us how many meters to that first top mark? To the helmsman, that I'd love a tool like this, wouldn't they? Yeah, ask the navigator, how far to the top mark? Where's the ley line?
Sometimes you don't want to know how far it is to the windward mark, particularly if you're a crew. The crews are sitting really low, hanging off the side of the boat, getting splashed. And that, as we said, it's not warm water here in Gaeta. And they're looking at the windward mark for a very long time.
Okay, so just over halfway on this first beat. And we've been concentrating on Diaz and Prada and Xavier Rohart. But look at the top there. In first place from Germany, Rauch and Weiss. And they at the moment are beating the likes of Torben Grail in second place. Poggi and Corsi, they've been having a great regatta. Although they did get a penalty in one race, I remember, which really put them out. So back up to in third. And the Hungarian, Tenka and Bezaretti, you know, the Hungarian team there, they've been having a fantastic regatta, and they're peppering that third spot. I'm not sure if, I can't do the maths, but great to see them there. Lars Grail and Samuel Gonçalves up to fifth. Guriev and Kushnir from Ukraine up to sixth. Pascalato and Boning, they're in there. We just had a bit of a reshuffle, and wow, Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada up to ninth, with Rohart and Guidu just 6 or 7 meters behind them in 10th. So that's how the top order's running. And so with 600-700 meters to go to the mark, we're going to be starting to see the boats hitting the ley lines. Would that be right?
Yeah, and I think the first people on the ley line are our favorites, the Hungarians over there. And you also have a Grail on that side, which is a little bit different from yesterday. The Grails tended to hang out on the left side of the course. But it is interesting that Diaz and Prada and Rohart and Guidu have been able to work their way up kind of in the middle of the course, which it means they're going fast, because that's hard to do, to gain boats in the middle of the course.
Okay, so yeah, pretty tight at the top there. Grail and Almeida at the moment have a fairly good lead, 19 metres, and then it's a real bun fight from second right down to, well, 10th. There's going to be a big ball of boats, Diaz and Prada and Rohart and Guidu amongst those. So it could be a very interesting top mark. We hope to be speaking to Rachele Vitello out there. And I don't know, we could expect a few fireworks this top mark. What do you think? I mean, they're going to be in with that pack. Rauch and Weiss are doing extremely well. They want to hold on there. I don't know about discards and whatever, but sometimes that eventually just goes all out the window when you're up there, when you're just saying, wow, I'm up here, I'm in the top 10. We really want to, do the best we can. Stress can come in as well.
Yeah, definitely on the last day, people are a little more tired. Those who are really concerned about either conserving their place or just jumping a boat in the standings, they can take some risks at the windward mark. The only thing with taking risks at the windward mark in a starboat is it can be expensive. Especially, we saw some damage on the first day. You have to be really careful. These boats are difficult to maneuver and very powerful. So although people might be aggressive at the windward mark, in general, I think the star class, they're much more careful. So there we have Diaz and Prada tacking back over onto port tack, heading back towards the starboard ley line. and there might have been a left-hand shift there which caused them to tack, and they're coming up to the French here.
Okay, thanks for that. And let's just have a look at the aerial, please, Ben. Doesn't really matter. Oh, on the left-hand side here. Hold on, Ben. Hold on that one. Here we go. Diaz and Prada and Rohart and Guidu, the two boats furthest over on the left-hand side. And Rohart and Guidu tacking very sensibly away from Diaz and Prada. But there's a piece of string tying those two together at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, that move can be expected from the French because they tacked to leeward and ahead. So now they are actually, if they maintain the same speed as Diaz and Prada, they're controlling them because they can still tack over onto starboard tack and have right away controlling Diaz and Prada. Now, if Diaz and Prada can have a speed advantage, if they can get over or just above Rohart and Guidu, that's going to pin the French. But they've both had great speed throughout the series, and I expect we're seeing a similar speed right now. So for them, this is just a tactical race.
Yeah, okay. Ben, let's get that up. Let's get the speed up on these boats. Have we got Diaz and Prada in the top? Yes, we have. Let me just hold that speed for now. Thank you, Ben. So jumping about a bit, but similar speed. But just talk about speed mode. About sailing low and fast and or slow and high. What are you doing here if you're Diaz and Prada?
Well, it's the best combination is high and fast. High and fast is very difficult. When we talk about different speeds, we talk about putting your bow down, which means that you're sailing a little bit lower but going slightly more speed forward. Higher, your boat is pointing higher, closer to the mark, but sometimes that means that you get a little more height, you're getting closer to the mark, but you lose a little bit in speed. So the best skippers have that balance between a really high angle and also speed. You don't want to give up any angle to a loss to speed, and these guys do that perfectly. We saw a video with Xavier explain to us how to sail fast yesterday, and I'm sure Augie watched that and has figured it out and is now sailing fast upwind.
Okay, so 580 meters to go for Tenka and Bezzaretti, the leaders, with Torben Grail and Goncalves just a meter behind, Lars Grail, I beg your pardon, and Goncalves just a metre behind. Then Torben, his brother, racing with Mark de Almeida, about 10 metres behind them. Roush and Weiss have dropped down to fourth on the leaderboard. So let's see. Can we go for a wider shot here, Ben? We want to see how many boats are coming in on port there. I think there's a fair few. Loads of boat over the ley line here, which has seemed to been quite common. Is that a lot of boats on starboard? Can you go into the middle of the fleet there? Sorry, Ben. Moving the cameras around.
Yeah, looking at that picture right there, you can see that the whole fleet today has really favored the right-hand side. We have very few boats on the left-hand side of the course, and this is pretty much the first time that we have seen this. But I think after 3 days, they've all learned. They've seen the Hungarians doing a great job. So we've got just a lot of people overstanding on that starboard ley line.
Indeed, yes, but there's a lot of boats over to the left-hand side, or the centre of the course, and they're not going to lay that mark from there, are they? They're going to have to tack back onto port to get round this mark. So
that'll make it a little more exciting for us.
I think it may well do. So how long to go here, Ben? 380 metres to go till the end, and we were expecting to see a lot of those boats on the left-hand side tacking onto port. Could we swing the camera around to behind the top wind mark? So there we have it. Lars Grail and Goncalves in first position. Trying to pick those out from the boats in front of us. Could you just pick out Grail and Concalves? Sorry, Ben. Zoom you back in. I think sharp-eyed Kathleen spotted it from here. My eyes aren't that good anymore. But they're just inside the ley line, over on sort of centre left of the picture. Pink dot. Just outside the ley line, beg your pardon. And they're neck and neck with Federico and Nando Colanino. I think I pronounced that right. We've got a cracking video with them later on. And I can tell you that young lad will be absolutely delighted that he can see one of his heroes, Lars Grail. I'm sure he's hiking out, but he'll be absolutely delighted to be up there sailing alongside one of his all-time legends. But I won't spoil the plot. We'll be speaking to him later on. So we've got Lars Grail with Concalves second. And we have Torben Grail and De Almeida neck and neck with Tenka and Bezaretti, the Hungarian pair. And up to fourth place, father and son, the Colaninos. And then Merkelbach and Bartel looking to go out in style in the last race up to fifth. Dino Pascalato and Henry Boning in sixth, the Brazilian pair. And Rohart and Guido up to seventh now, with Poggi and Corsi in 8th and Diaz and Prada 9th, and the Ukrainians Guriev and Kushner 10th. So as we approach this first top mark, we're going to have a look at what's going on with the action. And Kathleen, perhaps you want to talk us through this.
Well, this should be interesting. We've also seen Mark Reynolds appear here out of the left-hand side. And very interesting that the boats, Torben has played the left-hand side of the course as well, the left-hand side of the fleet, and done just well. Okay, Diaz and Prada still ducking boats coming over here to the line. They've just lost about 5 places.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, Kathleen, because we've got Rachele Vitello out on the racecourse. Rachele, what can you see?
I'm at the weather mark. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's another sunny day in the Gulf. The boats are passing here the top mark, and we are on the middle of the fleet. And the poor boat, bow 44, which is Germany 8491, was just told that they were black flagged. So they're leaving the course, going back ashore. They're gonna not be maybe too upset today because they're just gonna leave earlier to get home. Anyways, the weather up here, the wind up here is coming from 240, 245, and there is probably going to be a change in the course for the next upwind leg. They're gonna set the mark at 245. The intensity is about 10 knots, I would say. So things haven't changed that much since the start, and now the whole fleet is passing by the marks up here and the weather mark, as I said. And we have some clouds today, like we did yesterday. They're not as dark and scary as they were yesterday, but still they might create some trouble to the thermal breeze, but they haven't yet. And well, we at the start line we had a first redo of the start because the pin ribs, the ribs working as pin ends, was slowly going backwards, so that to reset the start line. Otherwise, it would have been all favorable on the committee boat. And then, as you probably said, there were two general recall because they were all very excited to start for the last race of this European Championship in Gaeta. And they're going downwind now with the mast leaning towards the bow. This is the typical downwind asset for the star class. And the bowmen are standing up at the mast. So we see most of the fleet going right. As I said, the wind is coming from 245, so it had turned right already. So they might change the course later on. That's what I overheard from the radio.
Okay.
And there are a few on the left, but the right is a favorable side for sure.
Yes, thank you, Raquel, for that update out there. And bad news for Ulrich Watter and Carsten Morph, the German pair, black flagged there at the first top mark. And as Raquel was pointing out, we've had the wind shift back 10 degrees. And a lot of boats are taking the first downwind leg to the right to take advantage of that 10 degree shift in the wind. Meanwhile, we're going to do a little replay there because there was quite a lot of hot action before that windward mark, particularly for Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada. So Ben's just going to pull us back. I do like this bit. I do like the action replays, Kathleen, I've got to say. And yeah, a bit. Okay, no, a bit further back. And Kathleen is going to talk us through this. Okay, Kathleen, off you go.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because Diaz and Prada to windward, would you think would have more control? The French actually have to be decking a boat up here. And when you're going across like this, you have boats that you use as what we call blockers. And that can help you, meaning that another boat has to duck, and therefore that gives you a lane. We see Xavier ducking two boats here, but and he finds a hole there that he can tack into. But Diaz and Prada aren't able to get across and get in front of that pack. They weren't far enough ahead, and then they had to duck all the boats that Xavier was able to get in front of. And that just cost them about 5-6 boats in this race. And Mark Reynolds, who was behind them actually by a couple boat lengths, didn't have to duck, didn't lose that distance, and was able to find a gap and tack in and ended up rounding the mark in front of them.
Beautifully explained, if I may say so. That was, as we say, I'm afraid a big downer there for Diaz and Prada. Well, we're going to rewind it now all the way. And I'm going to let Kathleen talk about the decision to either jibe off to the left or to stay out to the right.
So right now we have a split downwind. You've got Diaz and Prada on the right-hand side facing downwind. And the French, Rohart and Guidou, jibed much sooner than Diaz and Prada. So they're separated.
Okay, well, we spoke earlier on about the Colaninos, father Nando and son Federico, and look at that, they're up to third place. They're having an amazing regatta, the father and son team, by far the leading Italian boat at the Star European Championships. They're from Gaeta. They are so proud to be beating every other Italian team at this regatta. And here's what they had to say after racing yesterday. Okay, we're speaking to Nando Colanino and Federico Colanino.
Right, correct.
Top Italian team, you're from Gaeta. Nando, how does that feel? One race left. How does it feel to be the top Italian team?
I think that the first feeling and the first thing that I'm thinking that is big pleasure to sailing with my son first experience for him to sailing a star. For me, it's a European number 21 or something like this. And second one is that we're doing very well in our hometown. Then for results, it's okay. We're happy.
And Federico, you're 15 years of age.
Yeah.
Your birthday very soon.
Molto vicino al tuo compleanno.
Sì, sì, yeah.
For your birthday, what do you want? What present?
Che regalo vuoi? Legato alla regata.
Già è un regalo questo.
It's already a present for him to sailing with the father and between so big champions.
Okay. And Federico, star, laser.
Yeah.
Well, you like laser?
Yeah, also dragon.
Dragon. Okay.
Yeah.
We're also sailing together dragon. For the laser now it's a problem because in Italy they can sail radial until 16, but it's already 85 kilos, so it's in trouble. That's why I switch sailing star and dragon together.
So you watch sailing. You see who are the stars for you? Who do you like as a sailor? Who do you admire?
Migliori.
Lars Turben.
Yeah.
Robert Scheidt.
Yeah.
Mark Reynolds also.
Yes. Mark Reynolds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when the not in Rio, not Olympics, but you like to go to the Olympics?
Il tuo sogno andare
Obviously.
And I have a son the same age as yours. He loves his rugby. But
you have to bring him here, and then he will get in love about sailing, about Gaeta for sure. For food, of course, also, and for sailing. We try to push him come sailing between our young guys.
But Federico is not just learning about sailing here. What other lessons to learn from sailing in the star class about life?
So for him, I think it's a big experience in 360 degrees in life. So every time that we decide to do something, I try always to explain to him what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what we're planning to do, just because, as I already told you, it's my main goal to give you much more information, not for this regatta, but for the life and for January 7th.
Yeah. Nando, Federico, a pleasure to meet you both.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely marvellous to have a chat with them earlier. And by the way, that bang on Dad's head was not his son hitting him with anything. I think he got caught by the boom in one of the jibes of the tacks. And Kathleen, you've been paying far more attention than me over the last minute or so. What are you pointing out to me now?
Well, Diaz and Prada have pushed their way ahead of a few boats. Got past Mark Reynolds, who rounded in front of them, and also the Italians Poggi and Corsi. So it looks like they've got some good speed. It'll be interesting. If they want to round the left-hand mark facing downwind, which has been the favored mark at the leeward gate, they're on the other side. So they would have to cross over, but right now it's almost like they're set up to go around the other mark. We're still a ways away, but they are not on the what has tended to be the favored side of the course. They could be there because there's more breeze. We saw some of that downwind yesterday. We saw the French get into a good puff and extend about 100 meters on Diaz, and Diaz did the same thing to the boats behind him. So that's one thing we can't see on the television is where the puffs are. And it has a lot to do with where the boats are positioning themselves on the race course right now.
Yes, indeed. It would be lovely to have some cameras out there. We do for the Star Sailors League final in Nassau. We can see both aspects of that, and well pointed out there, Kathleen. Let's just have a look at the leaders. We have Lars Grail and Goncalves getting quite a bit of distance away, a bit of separation. 30 meters. Just talk about, Kathleen, how important it is to get that separation when you're going downwind with the boats that are behind you. Why should you need that bit of separation?
Yeah, separation is key to speed because the further you're separated from the other boats, it means the more wind you have. Also, you can choose where you want to go. If you get a puff, you can drive lower, which points you closer to the mark downwind. And then if the breeze dies down a little bit, you can then put your bow a little bit higher, which helps you pick up your speed again. If you have boats around you, the skipper doesn't have that freedom to drive where they want to maintain their speed. So you definitely want to have separation, and that separation from the boats to to your backside and your front side and boats who are behind you, because the boats behind you are the ones who are blocking the breeze.
Indeed. So you're in clear air. You can jibe when you like. You can jibe on a wave. You're not being forced into a maneuver. Yeah. Okay. Great. And at the moment, the Grail brothers, Lars Grail and Torben Grail, are streaking away here. Torben Grail has 38 metres behind his brother, but then it's a big gap down to Tenka and Bezzaretti in third. With Colanino Nando with his son Federico in fifth. Merkelbach and Bartel just moved up to fourth. And Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada up to sixth, just ahead of Rohart and Guido. So they're certainly making a fight of it, aren't they?
Yeah, and they probably don't actually know that because they're on opposite sides right now. So it's as we've said, it's difficult for them to tell. Sometimes they have the wrong idea about the distance. They can only look across the race course, but to tell how many meters ahead they are when it comes down to just 5 meters or 10 meters, it's difficult to say. They're probably not focused on that. They're really focused on how their speed is doing on the boat directly next to them.
Yeah, and just to get Virtual Eye to explain that to us graphically, we can see how far apart Diaz Prada are from Rohart and Guido, 210 metres. So as you were explaining, and also the fact they've only got a compass on the boat, so it's almost impossible with the human eye to say which one's in front, but these guys are very experienced. They know they're neck and neck, and that's going to certainly be in Rohart's favour because he can be within 4 boats of Diaz and still win this championship.
Exactly. Right? Every meter they can gain here, every little surf down a wave is going to help them to do that. Now
Okay.
we've got Lars Grail coming up to the gate. It looks like he's going to choose the left-hand gate facing downwind. For us viewing right now, we call that the right gate, and go off to that right side.
And looks like Torben Grail going to follow him in there. And out in the water, we've got Rachele Vitello. Rachele, are you at the Leeward Gate?
Yes, I'm at the Leeward Gate, and I confirmed there's going to be a change of course. The weather mark is set up at 2:55, so another right shift on first. And everybody's going for the right gate. I can see the first one now. Start is rounding the mark, followed by the Colanino father and son, and there are a couple of boats going left. But Augie Diaz is actually going on the left side, if I see correctly, and so probably he was in a favored position to round that because weather-wise it's probably convenient to stay on the right. The wind is maybe picking up a little bit, so we might have 11, 12 knots. The sky is getting clearer, so that might help the wind, the breeze being stronger. So that's about it downwind. I don't see much more else rather than, more clouds in the inland, going quite fast, but probably staying inland and not coming over the Gulf of Gaeta.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachele, for that update. So just to confirm, we've had another wind shift back to the right to 255 degrees. That's a 15-degree wind shift than we had at the top mark. And there was a big sigh of ugh coming from Kathleen just then. I must explain, Augie Diaz sails with Kathleen in the Snipe. And you got a feel for Augie there. Why is that?
With a shift of the wind that far to the right, you would almost always round that other gate mark. For Augie and Bruno Prada to go over to that favored mark, it was going to be long distance sailed. So they rounded the other mark, which was a lot closer, but putting them off onto the other side, which right now doesn't seem favored. Now, with a 10, 15 degree shift like that, I think Diaz and Prada are thinking, okay, it's got to go back to the left at some point, and they're jockeying for that position. We did also see, I believe it was Torben Grail attack out of the right-hand side, and the Colaninos as well. So there are some people who have a little bit of faith in a couple shifts to the left. Also, you've got a big parade right now off to the right-hand side of the course. And when you round the gate and you're in a parade of boats, as we mentioned before, you've got bad breeze and you're not moving fast. Diaz and Prada have just tacked over. They have no boats around them. Their only job right now is to go fast. And for them, it's an easy job because they have clear air over on that side. And we'll see if it works out.
Indeed, we'll see if it works out. At the moment, Virtual Eye has Lars Grail and Samuel Goncalves leading Diaz and Prada in second place on 12. Torben Grail and De Almeida, then the Colaninos, then Rohat and Guido in 5. But as Kathleen was pointing out, with that big righty there, that's you'd have gone right, and certainly Rohat and Guido, interestingly enough, have come off the right, and they're getting close to Diaz and Prada. That's a tactical move in terms of the championship. Would that be right, Kathleen?
I think they have greater faith in the right-hand side, they right now they can't control Diaz. They're too far away, but they feel strong about the right. The leaders are going to the right, but right now you've got almost the entire fleet on port tack, which indicates that there might be his breeze might have gone back a little bit left, and that in this case would favor Diaz and Prada.
Okay, and as we saw at the first top mark, there was a lot of traffic around because they were playing hunt on each other, and they got back in the traffic, and Xavier Rohat and Sebastian Guido used that to their advantage to put some boats in between them. But as it stands at the moment, they're going to be up there with the top boats in more clear air. There isn't going to be any way to use a blocker, as you said before.
Yeah, that's true. But also, Diaz and Prada are coming in from the left-hand side, which means that they're going to be on port tack coming into the windward mark. And when you're on port tack, you don't have right of way. So that means that they're going to have to tack out of the way the other boats or duck boats, which is lost distance. But if they maintain this speed and can build more and more distance on the other boats, that definitely means less tacking and more places gained.
Okay, indeed. And we saw that wonderful video, and it's wonderful to see the Colaninos up there as well. And as I said, top Italian boat, and their top Italian boat in this race by 10 places as well. So fantastic to see that. Lars Grail and Goncalves have quite a significant lead, 35 metres from the Italian father and son. Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada not far behind the Italians, 46 metres off the lead, just 5 metres behind the Italians, according to Virtual Eye. And Torben Grail and De Almeida fourth, and there we have it, Rohat and Guido in 5. Merkelbach and Bartel in 6, Reynolds Lambertenghi in 7, Guriev and Kushner 8, Pascalato Boning 9, and Feltzman and Lux. I hope I'm getting my Austrian right there. Can you confirm that,
Feltzman and Lux. I spoke to them yesterday at the regatta dinner, and they're a young team. They're from Attersee in Austria, and they're actually very small for star sailors. So this is a really good performance for them. They don't have the weight of the other teams to keep the boat flat, and sometimes weight also translates into muscles. They're young, they're lightweight, and this is a great place for them to be. Today and yesterday they had a top 10 finish as well, so yay Austrians.
Yeah, but hold on, if they're lighter, and it's light airs racing here, surely they've got less weight to carry around the racecourse. That's got to be an advantage, hasn't it?
Well, you would think so. It definitely helps downwind. But because these are heavy boats, when you do kinetics, meaning rocking the boat or pushing the boat with your weight, which helps you go faster within the rules, it helps to be a little bit heavier because you can move the boat around. You can move the boat through the waves. You can move your weight to surf down waves. So even though they're lighter, it really only is an advantage downwind to some degree. Upwind, you want to have more weight.
Okay, thanks for that explanation. using the weight you've got on board. But as you say, it's got to be muscle because of the the physical exertion on these boats. We've seen a diagram showing a laser compared to a star, and I believe the star has the biggest sail plan that there's ever been for an Olympic class in proportion to the length of the boat. So we were having a chat earlier on about Xavier Rohat and Sebastien Guidou, and Sebastien skinny down to 85 kilograms. That puts Xavier Rohat at 110, 115 kilograms.
Yeah, Xavier is a big skipper, strong skipper, very well built. If you put him next to Augie Diaz or even Robert Scheidt, you would see a big difference. He's a tall, wide, strong man. Augie is also very strong. It's interesting, star skippers, there's not just one build. That's nice thing about the star class. In general, the crews tend to be very big, but you have some great skippers of different weights, different sizes who can come into the class and sail very well. The Austrians are an example of that. We spoke with Ben Sternberg earlier. He's a smaller skipper. Robert Scheidt, great, fantastic star skipper. Not very big. He's very tall, but he doesn't have a lot of weight. But he's strong, and strong is what counts in these boats.
Yeah, that's interesting. As you say, you do see different shapes and sizes, don't you, amongst the star sailors? That's to say, different shaped crew, different shaped helm, and that's interesting because a lot of Olympic classes, there's sort of, you could almost, they're almost like they're clones, aren't they? They're all the same sort of shape. But
if you go to an Olympic regatta, you can look at someone who's sailing and you can guess what sailboat class they're from. In the Olympic laser class, almost everybody is about the same height and the same weight. There's not a lot of difference. But in the star class, there is a weight formula. There is a maximum. They have weighed all the sailors before this event. Luckily, it's before the event, so they can enjoy the food during the event. But in the star class, it's a great opportunity for people to sail together, different sizes and weights. And we've seen father and son sail together, different combinations. And in some places, you also will have women sailing.
Okay, yeah. So let's see, 1.5 mile leg, even with my poor maths, that means we're getting close to halfway on this leg, and not much change at the top of the leaderboard in terms of pecking order, but look at that gap now. It's Lars Grail with Samuel Goncalves leading 69 metres ahead of his brother, and then 126 metres down to Diaz and Prada. Looking at the difference between Diaz and Prada and Rohat and Guidou, it's about 25 metres. Super Mario has just come in and delivered. Is that a doppio espresso? We've got to give Super Mario the biggest prize of all. Come on, big round of applause, team. Super Mario doesn't just do the coffee here either. Super Mario does a fantastic job coaching the Optimist sailors here at the Yacht Club Gaeta, and he's an extraordinary sailor himself, and he's just been looking after us, amazingly, all of this week. He's just absolutely fantastic. He's not just a coffee machine, that's for sure. And we're focusing in on Rohat and Diaz and Prada. And look at that. They're most certainly in the same water now, aren't they, Kathleen?
Yeah, actually, I think we missed them coming together. But unfortunately for the French, they're not in a controlling position here. If they tack and go off onto starboard tack, Diaz and Prada can cover them and still control them. So it's interesting that they decided to come that close together because we didn't see that at the leeward gate. So Rohat and Guidou have come over to Diaz and Prada, and but not quite in an ideal position.
Yes, yes. Thanks for that, Kathleen. And I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't understand why Diaz is staying there. Surely he's going to try and break away from. If he stays where he is, he's not going to win the championship, is he?
Well, right now he doesn't have any boats to play with. He's going to wait till they get a little bit closer to the ley line, closer to the windward mark, where he can put boats between them when you have consolidation at the mark. So that's where they can make a move. Right now they're staying on this tack because it seems to be a left-hand shift, and to be in phase they have to stay on that tack. Once there are more boats that are closer to them, particularly coming to the windward mark, then Diaz and Prada can start making some moves to try to put boats between them. But right now they have to stay on that lifted tack.
Okay, gotcha. And yeah, I mean, we're only this is only the third leg, so we're only about halfway in this race, eh? So there's plenty of time yet for some action.
Yeah, we saw them split on the downwind, and my guess is that that's probably going to happen again. But even though they split on the downwind, their distance remained almost the same. And they seem to be going the same speed for most of the regatta. We had them both interviewed this morning, and they both commented about one another's speed and how well they were sailing. So also, they're not only great sailors, but they're gentlemen as well. They're Corinthian sailors, and that's what's nice about the Star class.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that statement. Yeah, it's a pleasure to speak to Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada. They seem to really enjoy what they do, and Xavier Rohart the same. He's always got this big beaming smile on his face. I'll tell you the guy that needs to smile a lot more, and that's Sebastian Guidou. He just cannot believe, he's the Cinderella boy here. He's only been in the Star for 2 years. He's 26 years of age. He works for the Star Sailors League with logistics. He's a fantastic sailor, quite obviously, but I'm sure he's pinching himself at the moment. He cannot believe what's happening.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience sailing with a skipper like Xavier. As a crew, you can learn so much from your skipper, and having a good skipper makes your job easier. Your skipper can anticipate what the crew's doing. The good skippers know what the crew has to do to make the go fast, gives them the time to do what they need to do. Not all skippers are easy to work with. The top skippers are usually very hard to sail with. They have very high expectations. They don't want any error on the boat. So for Sebastian to step into that boat, I'm sure he was a little bit nervous, but there's this adrenaline you get by sailing at that high level, and it makes it easy to give it your all.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it stands at the moment, with only 2 boats separating Diaz and Prada and Rohart and Guidou, Xavier Rohart and Sebastian Guidou will be the 2015 Star European Championship. But as we were saying, we've still got just a bit less than half the race to go, so I'm sure they're not counting their chickens before they're hatched, and nor are we.
And certainly for the race, for third place, you've got the Grail brothers up in the front. They just keep fighting it out, and they're not making mistakes in this final race of the series. And Merkelbach and Bertel, they are up there in third. And we've seen them during the whole regatta, consistent speed. They've had a few glitches along the way, and after talking to Hubert this morning, it's great to see him having a good last race.
Yes, indeed. And you did put that up there, Ben. Could you put that back up? The distance to the top mark for Lars Grail and Concalves, 640 metres to go. So let's have a look at Rohart and Guidou down at the bottom there. See what's going on. They're on the right-hand side, a long way over.
Rohart and Guidou just tacked over onto starboard tack. They're now on the same tack as Diaz and Prada. And interestingly, right now they are almost on the ley line. And Diaz and Prada, they're going to have to come over on the port tack ley line again with no right of way. And last time that did not work out for them. They had to duck boats and lost those spaces. So we see Diaz and Prada again. And what they're doing is they're hoping for a little left-hand shift at the top of the beat to get across these boats.
Yes, indeed. And interestingly, Rohart and Guidou, there isn't as much traffic there, but would you say they're using those Brazilians inside of them as a blocker? Would you be doing that?
No, I because they're on starboard. But what's happening right here is they had to get to an edge, and as we've said before, we've had so many boats that are overstanding the ley line on the starboard side of the course. they had to get all the way over there to get clear air. So they might have actually sailed a further distance, and that's what Diaz and Prada are hoping, that they've sailed a further distance and they're going to be able to come together having sailed less distance and be ahead of them. But right, they had to go above those other boats. You've got the Brazilians, the Ukrainians, all those boats have really good boat speed. So there was no way that they could hang below them, and they had to get out to an edge.
Okay, and as we say, still early days yet, but Diaz and Prada are 134 metres off the lead. Roja and Guido 201, so that's 60 metres off the lead. I'm just looking at the right one there, am I? Where has Roja and Guido? I'm looking at the scoreboard here. 200 metres, yeah. So 60 metres back. At what stage do you say, well, I'm going to have to go back and do something about this? You know, hunt them. When would you think about that? Would you think about that on the last leg?
Yeah, you would see something about that on the last leg. There's not a lot they can do right now. Guido and Roja are behind, and they're all the way out on the lay line on the other side. They have to stay where they are. The controlling person right now is Diaz and Prada, as long as they can get across that fleet on port tack.
Okay, so Ben, can we have up the distance to that top mark for Lars Grail, please? 285 metres to go, and we have Torben Grail in second place, 48 metres, losing a bit of ground to his brother there. And they're on the same tack. They're in probably the same breeze as well. So interesting. Lars Grail has been very quick this regatta, I've got to say. Diaz and Prada up to third, being challenged by Merkelbach. And as we say it, Merkelbach and Bartel, they're literally swapping paces. So that'll be interesting to see at that mark rounding, because they look like they're going to go round it together. But just before we talk about that, Lars Grail, if I was going to suggest one boat in a straight line that's been really quick this regatta, you'd have to talk about Lars Grail and Goncalves, wouldn't you? Yeah,
Lars and Samuel has been sailing great this entire year, especially in the circuit over in the United States. But they're sailing a boat here, a Foley, that is not their boat. So they did the regatta in Viareggio prior to this, which was kind of a tune-up regatta. And I definitely think they've gotten their speed up to where they'd like it to be. But in the previous regattas this year, they have just been on fire, particularly downwind. And Samuel really works the boat. He never gives up. And Lars is just an incredible driver. So definitely they are one of the fastest boats out here on the race course. And being fast makes it easy to be smart.
Makes you look like a hell of a tactician, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, out on the race course, we have Rachele Vitello. And Rachele, can you see the boats approaching this mark?
I can see 3 boats approaching the mark, and 2 of them are Brazilians. One with a silver star, belonging to Lars Grail, and the other one with a golden star, belonging to Brother Torben. So it's a Brazilian and Grail domination for this last race of the European Championship. After them, it's an Hungarian boat, and then Ogi Diaz and Bruno Prada, and I cannot see Xavier Oart at the moment, but probably that might depend on where I am and the course. So yes, Lars Grail is doing the offset, is already at the offset mark, while Torben is getting into the segment at the moment. So the wind might be around 11, 12 knots. As they say, it's coming from 250, the offset mark being at 255. There is some haze coming from west, so from the open sea, and I don't know what that could mean, but it is covering Gaeta city from our point of view. It's a bit clearer looking at south, but not as much as it was the previous days. So the whole fleet, the first half of the fleet is coming in. the first Italian boat is the Colanino father and son boat, rounding the mark at the moment with a nice speed, even though they're a bit covered by the Ukrainian boat, about 36. We might hear Nando Colanino shouting at them in a while, but they will try to overgo them. And then there's another Italian boat, and yes, I do see Xaviero Art at the moment. Yes, is it this one? Yes, there is them. And so they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boats behind Torben Grael. So I don't know if that can help you try and guess who can be the European, the winner tonight. And then it's Mark Reynolds with Sergio Lambertenghi coming in, doing the offset. They are equally choosing the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the course. I can see Lars and Torben Grael both going right.
Okay. Raquela, I'm just going to
Yes.
come in there, but thank you very much for that update from the water at the Windward Mark there. At the Windward Mark. The interesting thing is, we've got all this fantastic 3D animation and we can see how the boats are doing, how many meters from, but we have a complete point in that mark, and at that mark, when Diaz and Prada went round it, Rohart and Guidu were 4 boats behind them. And my maths isn't that brilliant, but it's about 35, 36 seconds, something like that. But at the moment, the Star European Championship is absolutely hanging in the balance. It's by no means a done deal here. If Diaz and Prada can put 5 boats between them and Rohart and Guidu, Diaz and Prada will be the European champions. So it's all on like Donkey Kong here. But as the boats come round that top mark and bear away, Kathleen's been looking at some of the action to see how the boats are behaving, where they're going downwind. A lot of boats going right, Kathleen.
Yeah, a lot of boats going right. The first boats to drive out was Merkelbach and Bartel, the Germans. And they have done that consistently throughout the series. You've got Diaz and Prada following the Grails downwind on the right side of the course. Interestingly, you also have the French, Rohart and Guidu, going in the same line as Diaz. It is going to be very hard for Diaz and Prada to put boats between them on this downwind. There just aren't that many boats in front of them, and they've got a pretty good lead. And if you had more boats splitting at the offset mark, meaning more boats going to the left-hand side of the course, that would mix things up a bit. But right now we have a pretty big parade going to the right-hand side of the course, which makes it very difficult to mix it up.
Okay, thank you for that. But I'm going to ask you a question, Kathleen. If you could have any Star crew in the world to take you downwind in the Star, who would it be?
It would be Bruno Prada.
That's exactly who Augie Diaz has got.
Would be Arnes Boltons, who's also Augie's other crew, who couldn't be with him at this regatta.
Who is a man made of marble and a heart like a puppy. A lovely guy and a very intelligent sailor and financial wizard as well. I know, an amazing guy.
He's a computer guru, and he was watching yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay, give him my regards when you see him.
We will.
He's a lovely chap. But I wouldn't mind betting here that Bruno Prada's properly rolled his sleeves up and got his eyeballs out, and he really wants to give Augie Diaz this, doesn't he? He's really up for it.
Yeah, Bruno crews very often with Robert Scheidt. They've won Olympic medals together. But as many Star crews, he mixes it up with different skippers. And Bruno loves to get on the boat with Augie and do really well, because then it's all Bruno.
Okay, well, let's have a look at that leaderboard. It's Lars Grael way ahead now, 74 metres ahead of Torben Grael. And the Hungarians have just been fantastic this regatta. Tenka and Bezzaretti up to third, and might even be challenging for third overall, but I don't think so with the two Brazilians ahead of him. Then we have Diaz and Prada in fourth, Merkelbach and Bartel fifth, Colaninos in sixth, Guriev and Kushner 7, Pascalato and Boning, Dino having a good last race in 8th, the Italians Poggi and Corsi in 9, Rohart and Guidu in 10th. So if that's how they went through the line, it would be Diaz and Prada winning this championship. So let's see how it goes. There we have on virtual eye 145 metres between them, but it's all about those boats in between, and to some extent Rohart and Guidu's tactics are sort of off Diaz now, and they're trying to get the guys in front of them, aren't they?
Well, actually, they've sailed a lot lower this leg of the race. You can see that they're to leeward of Diaz and Prada, and that's a good thing. That in the end of this leg will help them close some of the distance between the boats. And right behind them you have Mark Reynolds and Lambertini. If Mark Reynolds and Lambertini were to sail lower as well, they could actually start to affect the speed of Rohart and Guidu. But I don't really see that happening. Right now all the boats are focusing on just going fast. And as we can see here on the screen, their boats aren't very close together. They're not right on top of one another. People have pretty clear air. So there's not a lot of playing going on. So the only thing they can do is go fast. We see Dino Pascalato here. He just headed up a bit. And he could start to affect the boats in front of him. There we see him going back down again. So, and I'm watching the other boats go. Diaz and Prada just jibed. So there seems to be a little bit of a shift that happened right there.
Yeah, talk about the shifts. I'm going dizzy. 240, 245, 255, 240. I'm going dizzy. I couldn't tell which phase I'm in, and I'm looking at a 3D screen here. But why are Diaz and Prada a little bit out on the right there? What do you reckon that's all about?
What happens there is one of two things happened. Is when they went around the mark, the wind was in a certain position where that might have been the lowest they could have gone when they rounded the mark. Whereas when the French went around the mark, the wind had shifted a little bit more the other direction, which enabled them to go around the mark and point a little bit lower. Also, Diaz and Prada might have seen a puff. There might have been a little bit more wind in front of them on that side, and they decided to go over there. But usually it's because of a shift.
Okay, and also because of the wind direction there, that little gaggle of boats down there on the left-hand side, they're going to find it hard to give them any kind of bad air there, aren't they? So they know they're clear astern in terms of breeze.
Right, and actually right now you got Diaz and Prada on opposite tacks, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the distance between them. And as we have it right now, Xavier and his crew Sebastien, it looks like they're going to aim for the favored right-hand mark at the gate. And Diaz and Prada, if that's what they want around, which they didn't last time, they have to get themselves over there. But they could very well go for that other mark again, which will just make this even more exciting.
Yeah, I could sort of feel the tension mounting, and let's not forget we've got 48 boats out there, 48 stars out there that have all qualified to be here. So let's have a rundown again, Ben. You started doing that. Let's have a rundown again so the fans at home watching this can see where their friends and family are.
So I know we're just looking at the boats sailing downwind, but as Raquel mentioned, the crews are standing up on the deck, and they have to be very careful at this stage of the game. Usually the judges are on the water watching the sailors, and in this case, they're usually watching the top sailors in the front of the fleet. So when you have waves out there, you are allowed 1 pump per wave, but rocking is not allowed. But rocking kind of happens naturally in waves. So the crews have to find the balance between keeping the normal rocking of the boat going with also a little bit of kinetics. But they can't do it too much, or they'll get a flag from the judges, and then they have to do a spin while the rest of the fleet sails forward. So they have to be very careful here, because in the final race, when it comes down to a championship, the judges are watching, and the last thing you want to see is that yellow flag going up. You hear the whistle, and if that happens, when the sailors hear the whistle, they all look around, your heart jumps. It's a really bad thing. So these guys have to be very careful. They want to push it to the maximum allowed by the rules in terms of kinetics and pumping the boat and rocking the boat, but they have to keep it under control so they don't get a yellow flag.
So you're telling me an umpire in this situation is going to basically give a penalty against Manchester United in the FA Cup final? I mean, there must be a lot of stress on the umpires as well to call that yellow.
Yeah, it is a tough job. Usually there's 2 to 3 umpires out on the race course. Often there's 2 boats, sometimes there's 3. And I have talked with some judges, and when it comes down to a championship title, before they blow a whistle on somebody in the top that's really going to affect the outcome of the race, they will actually ask the other judges to look at that boat to corroborate what they're thinking, and then they'll blow a whistle.
Yeah, and in fact, we saw that during this championship, Merkelbach and Bartel having to do turns right at the finish of a race, and that's a pretty brave call. But to his credit, to their credit, Merkelbach and Bartel were gentlemen when they came in, and they accepted that they'd been called wrong, and they got on with it. But
yeah, and that's a little tricky, getting a whistle right at the finish line, because you have to do your circles, but you can't affect the races of the other sailors. So if you have to spin and you're trying to do it while still maintaining your position, but you're in the middle of everybody finishing, it's really, really difficult, and they did a great job.
Sure, and somebody coming in there, they don't have to stay clear. But
Right.
they could make them keep turning and turning and turning till they lost consciousness, really, couldn't they?
Exactly. When you get a flag, you have no rights when you are doing a circle. So it makes it even worse. If you hit another boat or follow another boat while doing a circle, you just keep spinning and you get dizzier and dizzier.
Okay, so 300 meters to go. Hopefully we've got Rachele Vitello. I hope my Italian's getting better. It's the coffee from Super Mario up at the leeward gate. This is the last leeward gate, and we're about to have the last leg of the 2015 Star European Championship. Lars Grail 80 metres clear of Torben Grail. Tenka and Bezzaretti from Hungary in third. Diaz and Prada fourth. Merkelbach, Bartel 5th, Guriev Kushner 6th, the Coloninos 7th, Pascalato and Boning 8th, Poggi Corsi 9, Rohart and Guidu in 10. If it was staying like that, if that was the finish line, Diaz and Prada would be European champions, but they got one more leg to go.
Yeah, you know, in the last few days, the first race of the day has always been a downwind finish. But today, since we only have one race, they're going back upwind again.
So we've got Lars Grail approaching. He looks like he's approaching that. I call it the right-hand gate. Let's call it the one nearest the land. That's sort of so looks like Lars Grail is going to go right, as most of the fleet have done. Torben Grail, he often does something different. He's just put in a jibe, actually. Torben Grail sailing with Mart de Almeida in second place. And he looks like he's heading for the same side as his brother, but you never know with Torben Grail. Tenka and Bezzaretti in third, again looking like they're lining up for that. There we go. That's... Yeah, go ahead, Kathleen.
All Torben has to do here, he doesn't have to pass his brother. He's basically... Lars would have to have 5 points between them. So Torben's fairly safe here. He can just follow his brother and sail fast. He's had great speed. He doesn't have a whole lot to worry about.
We're talking about the fight for third here, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So sorry, I wasn't listening properly then. Can you say that again?
For Lars to get ahead of his brother, to take the bronze medal in the European Championship, he would have to put 5 points between him and win the race.
So you're telling me there's 2 brothers out in the water at the moment, and Torben Grail was in bronze medal position, and Lars is Lars is currently about to snatch that out of his brother's hand.
Well, what would have to happen?
And get up on the podium. There's going to be a punch-up later on between those
What
two,
has to
surely.
happen is, even though Lars, if he wins this race, if he maintains his lead, and he has a great distance right now, he still needs to he'd have to finish first and have 4 boats between them.
I beg your pardon. So
they are pretty far out in front
it's
right now.
It's getting complicated. So Torben Grail's in bronze medal position.
Correct.
Okay.
Because it's
sorry
really hard
sorry.
for Lars right now to put points between them. That's what happens when you get far out in the front. You think it's a great thing, but at this point, they're far out in the front. Lars has a difficult time putting boats between them.
Okay, gotcha. So let's call these ones round this last leeward gate, heading for the last beat of this championship. Lars Grail with Goncalves in first position. Torben Grail with Dale Media second by 27 seconds. Tenken Bezaretti in Hungary 46 seconds off the lead in third. Diaz and Prada just a minute for 58 seconds off the lead. Merkelbach Bartel fifth. Guriev and Kushner sixth. Colanino 7. Pascalato 8. Rohart and Guidu have just taken a scout there. They've passed, I presume, Reynolds and Lambertenghi. I tell you what, I'd like to replay that because it could be crucial. Rohart and Guidu up to 9th, and that by a cat's whisker would be enough. Let's see what happened there. Okay. There's Rohart and Guidu going around the left-hand gate. You can see Reynolds and Lambertenghi opting for this side. And that's what's done it. So Reynolds, Lambertenghi look like they like the left? Or...
Yeah, they're able to run that mark in clear air. We actually saw Diaz and Prada tack after they rounded their gate, went a little bit on starboard tack, and then tacked back again to the right. I think that's just because you've got a parade of boats, and they wanted clear air. And when you have a parade of boats, if you can just get to windward of them, even on the same tack, if you have any type of lefty coming in, even for a short bit, the gain goes to you. And I think that's what the Americans and Brazilians had in their mind there.
Well, while we were watching that action replay, it has gone back to 5 places, I believe. Yes, there we have it. Diaz Prada 4th, Rohart Guidu 10th. So as it stands at the moment, and it's flicking around like crazy
and,
here.
They don't know that. They have no idea. They are just going as fast as they can right now. And there's not a lot of boats around them, so to slow people up, there's something that they could do at the top of the race course coming up to the finish line, but they can't see the distance in meters right now. They have no idea that that Poggi is in there, that Mark Reynolds is ahead. It's very difficult to tell, especially when you have someone like Mark Reynolds with Sergio Lambertenghi rounding the other mark. You don't have a good sense of the distance and whether they're ahead or behind. So we're the ones who know. Unfortunately for them, they just have to work hard and go fast and hope.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. The Star World Championships in Lake Garda last summer, we had Negro and Lambertenghi won that last race, and they weren't joyous. But they knew they were in the hunt of winning that World Championship, and right back down, I think even 16th was Staniek and Clean, and their heads were down. They thought they'd lost it. They thought they'd blown it, and they hadn't. And as you say, these guys don't know out there. These guys can't possibly know what we know. They've got a watch and a compass. That's it. So, the tension's mounting here. But as you say, they're just trying to go as fast as they can now because, they lost sight of each other. They can't see each other. What's the distance? Diaz and Prada 138. Where are they? Where are they, guys? Rohart and Guido 252. I mean, they can virtually not see each other now, I guess.
Yeah, and also you don't necessarily know what the wind is doing to somebody on the other race course. You can't necessarily see their angles. You can't see their speed. If it's a long drop in pressure, then you can see the difference. But for us, we have all the advantage with the technology here.
So these guys are now literally sailing their own race. Hey, they're just saying, I'm looking at the boats around me, I'm looking at the weather around me, and I just want to get to that finish as quickly as I possibly can. Is that the plan now?
Well, they're still keeping their eyes on one another, and as we know it, they're going to come together at the windward mark. So as we go up the leg of the race, they're going to position themselves to be in a controlling position when they're getting closer to the finish. And that's a chess game. They're setting it up as they're going up the windward mark.
Okay, and just to confirm, this is the last leg, guys, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting so excited here. I lost it for a moment there. Now, the interesting thing is, Diaz and Prada are ahead on the water of Rohat and Guido. They don't know, but would you think about going back and hunting? You wouldn't, would you? No chance.
Not at this point, but it's definitely something that Augie would think about the closer he gets to the finish. I've been in a boat with him, and he's like, should I not? Do you think it's too early to do that? You don't see it as much in some of the bigger boats, the slower moving boats, but it will definitely come into their minds the closer they get to the finish line.
Okay, we won't give it a full explanation, but if we see Diaz and Prada heading back, we will, because there's the finish line. How long we got to go here, Ben?
One nautical mile.
1 nautical mile, so a little way to go yet. Looking at the top of the leaderboard again. Rod gave us a fantastic line that we've been trying to use all week, but I'm going to hold off it for the moment, because at the moment it's not definitely Grail. So hey, if you can figure out what that line is at home. I know, I'll give you a Star Sailors League t-shirt. So I don't know, we could do that now. So yeah, find Star Sailors League on Facebook or post on our YouTube channel. So the best headline if it's a Grail double at the top.
So that's something we haven't talked about. Is I know it's in the minds of the sailors here. I know it's important to Augie. It's definitely important to Bruno, who's the number one ranked star crew. Sergio Lambertini, who's sailing with Mark Reynolds, is looking to move up the ranks. He was number 1 and he's dropped down to number 3, and he's really hoping after this championship that he's going to be number 2 again. And they're all looking forward to qualifying to go to Nassau for the series final. So these points at the European Championship, they do mean a lot to the sailors, and that's also in their mind as they're coming up to the finish line.
Okay, so as they do come up to the finish line, I've completely lost the plot here and forgotten about what's going out on the race course. Let's look at the shifts and who's on starboard, who's on port. So Ben, can we go for the aerial shot just to get a general picture of how the boats are spread over the course and which tack they're on? Okay, so of the leading boats, we see a lot of boats on port tack heading over to that right-hand side. We certainly see some other boats that are tacking over to the right-hand side. A few boats out on the left, but not very many. It's, that little shift back again, that's definitely put the right-hand side in favour, would you say, Kathleen?
Yeah, if you could look, that's a perfect photo right now to explain when the sailors are sailing up the right side of the course. If you split the course down the center, if you have more boats on the right-hand side, that means it tends to be a right-hand favored course. And even though you might be playing the right-hand side of the course, you can get to the left side of the fleet. But this is a good explanation of what we mean by most of the fleet being on the right-hand side.
Yeah, thank you. The problem with being on the right-hand side, if you hit that ley line too early, you've then got to go on to the opposite tack where you're getting headed. So it's also important not to hit the ley line too early on that right-hand side. Would that be fair?
Definitely don't want to hit the ley line too early, because what happens is if you hit it too early, eventually every minute or so there's going to be another boat tacking on the ley line, usually in front of you, and then another boat, and that means you have more and more boats giving you bad air, and that just slows you down. So definitely ley line early is a bad thing. And it's really hard to judge the ley line from far away. So usually if you get onto the ley line early, the chances that you're exactly on the ley line are not good. You're probably overstood, and being overstood, it means you just sailed more distance and lost on the other boats.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. It's bouncing around a bit, but at the moment there's 6 boats between Diaz, Prada and Rohat and Guido. That would give the European Championship to Diaz and Prada. But drilling down into the data we've got from Virtual Eye, look at those boats just ahead of Rohart and Guidu. We've got the Colanino father and son. They're only, what's that terrible maths, 40 metres. Reynolds and Lambertenghi about 40 metres. So those two scalps are well within reach of Rohart and Guidu, and they're going to have to take two scalps if they're going to hang on to the lead here. So it's really getting like nerve-biting, jingly-jangly stuff here. Ben, how long to go to that finish line? Is that it? 0.7 of a nautical mile since we started this regatta on Thursday. So we've got half a mile left, and I'll tell you what, 0.7 of a mile left, and one of the unsung heroes of this regatta is Andy. Andy has been working like all those lovely films we get, all those people down on the dock and everything else. There's a guy behind the camera, and that's Andy.
He's
and
the game master.
And it was Andy's 40th birthday this week.
You're not allowed to say that. It was his birthday.
Okay, sorry.
And a monumental one.
And Andy, we've decided that we're going to give you a present. Here you are, Andy. Here's one of the best of Super Mario's coffees that's ever been in existence. Oh, it's it's an empty. It was a really good double espresso.
It's pathetic.
I don't think Andy's too impressed with his birthday present. God, look at that! You could sell that. You could sell that on eBay for a.
Yeah, back to the race.
Okay, sorry. Back to the race. And
well, I'm looking at the screen right here. And right now we're definitely in a left-hand phase. And you've got Diaz and Prada to lure it ahead of Rohart and Guidu. And so if we're in a left-hand phase, it means that the next one is going to be a right-hand phase. And in that case, that could mean even more distance for Diaz and Prada, as well as the Grails on the right-hand side of the course.
Wow. Wow, let's see how that's going. But at the moment, Rohart and Guidu are still in 10th, and Diaz and Prada are in 3rd. So, that would be enough for Diaz and Prada. And I feel like the kid in the back seat of the car. How long to go, Ben? 0.6 of a nautical mile. Wow. But as you say, they've got no idea, have they?
No.
They haven't got a Scooby, have they? They're just trying to go as fast as they can. But that's interesting. The Coloninos have just got ahead of Reynolds and Lambertenghi. Merkelbach and Bartel in 7th are down there with Diaz and Prada. So I have to say, Lars Grails absolutely got away with this one. Nobody's going to catch him now. He's 96 metres ahead with 500 metres to go. I think Lars Grails probably definitely got bronze here, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a great feeling to win the last race of a series. Even if they're not going to go home with the gold medal, to win the last race is you really feel like you've accomplished something. He's not beating his brother, but sailed an excellent series in a boat that he's not familiar with, in a beautiful place. They're also probably going to be the first ones to the dock, and we only have one crane here, and you've got 50-some boats that need to get out of the water. So that's actually maybe one of the most important races to win today.
Yeah, and it's really cool. As Torben Grail put it the other day, we've got the Brazilian army, I think he called them here, and they all do get round a table with their wives and girlfriends and everything else, and they all sit down and have dinner together, have a good laugh, don't they?
They have a great time, and they're very supportive of one another. We see them showing up at all the events, and they work together. Often they share the same coach at different events where coaching is allowed, and then they have a really good circuit going on in Brazil with their strong fleets there. The Brazilians are really good people who really work to promote the star class, and and Olympic sailing in general. So the class is very fortunate to have such a big contingent here, and definitely for sailors like Xavier, Augie Diaz, Mark Reynolds, for them to have these boats to sail against and such a large armada of Brazilians, it really makes for excellent regattas. And people want to come to events where they have really good competitors and great racing, and certainly having the Brazilians here makes that happen.
And what top sailing classes have their president, winning races at the European Championship, winning the Bacardi Cup? Lars Grael is not just a phenomenal sailor. He's also the president of the International Star class, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he's really taken the reins of the Star class. Since it's been out of the Olympics, they've been working to promote to get younger people into it, reinvigorating some of the regattas, and Lars is also very involved with what's going on in the Olympics in Rio. So all that passion is just helping the Star class move forward, and making great events happen, getting people excited about the Star.
Yeah, wonderful. He probably still will be taking a bit of time on that crane, though, won't he, with Torben waiting to get in it, probably having a cheeky dig at his brother, Torben. Okay, let's go back to the Diaz and Rohart story. So Diaz and Prada, third behind the Torben Grael and Lars Grael. Tenga Bezzaretti, fourth. Merkelbach Bartel, fifth. Pascalato Boning, sixth. Colanino, seventh. Reynolds and Lambertenghi up to eighth. Guriev and Kushnir still in ninth. Rohart and Guidu are in 10th, so no change there.
But you do know this difference between the 10th and 11th place boat. That's about 60 meters. It would be really hard to get another boat in between Diaz and Rohart. So, but the distance between the other boats is not so great. So Xavier actually could gain some here, but it's very difficult for him to lose any more distance.
And I doubt whether Diaz is going to get further ahead. He's not going to catch. He's not going to catch Torben Grael, is he?
Not at this point. Not unless there's some yellow flag for Lars or Torben pumping their bodies upwind, which I don't think is happening at this point. They're far ahead and they can just relax.
Kathleen, I don't think there's any need for the Jesus call at the moment. Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada are effectively leading the Star European Championship. But we'll have to wait and see. They'll be racing an hour and a half now. And Ben, you know what I'm going to ask you. 465 meters to go to the finish. And head back out of the boat, Kathleen. Let's have an aerial view and just see the big game, what's going on, because there might just be one last twist in this. You never know. Let's have a look. So, we're the Diaz and Prada.
Well, it's interesting. You've got Mark Reynolds tacking out, going a little bit more left. And right now, Reynolds is one of those boats that is ahead of the French. And hopefully... sorry, Xavier is going with him. But that could be one boat that Xavier could get past, depending on how the breeze goes. There goes Reynolds tacking, going back the other direction. My guess is that's a shift. He probably wouldn't have gone otherwise. And he's going to be clear ahead of the French, which is good for Augie Diaz.
It certainly is. And if that is a shift over on the left-hand side, Rohat and Guidu are looking vulnerable out there, aren't they?
Yeah, right now I would assume that the French are going out to the left-hand side, hoping that there's going to be one more shift in their favor to the left-hand side, which might get them over one or two boats that are on the right-hand side, because there certainly are a lot more boats in the front of the pack on the right-hand side, and this will probably be their only chance to gain those boats back.
Okay, well, we're not going to go out to just yet, but Raquel, hold on that line. Don't go anywhere. We know you're up at the finish line. In fact, let's just check. Raquel, are you up at the finish line?
Yes, I'm up at the finish line. Not too close, because yesterday we got protested from a boat for being too close to them.
All right, well, don't get protested on this one. Are there a lot of spectator boats up there?
Away from the mark.
Are there a lot of spectator
there are
boats?
A few. There are a few. I would say 3 to 5. Yeah. There are a few spectator boats, and there are some seagulls also. But do they count?
Well, don't go anywhere, and unless you've been listening to the commentary, you're not aware of. Are you aware of what the situation is at all with Diaz and Rohart?
Not really. No, I'm quite curious actually.
All right.
So,
Well,
I'll
I'll tell you in a minute, but I want you to tell me the body language out there, Raquel. Grail, Lars Grail Consalves coming through. Over to you, Raquel.
Okay, so he crossed the line and he's high-fiving with his bowman. But, he's waving at us and at the fan spectator boats. They're shaking hands, but they're not too excited. Are they first?
You're talking about Lars Grail? We have no news of any protest. So, yes, Lars Grail has just won race 7, the last race.
Yes, but is he the first one in the overall ranking?
Negative, Raquel.
Negative.
No,
so
he's not first overall.
Is about to cross now, and then is Ogi Diaz just after him. So Torben is crossing, and there is no movement on that boat. So they are not happy at all. And now...
Hello, just Raquel, sorry to interrupt you. Just to explain to the viewers at home, the virtual eye has decided to freeze. The only way they can stop it freezing is to actually take it off air. So that's why you have to look at my ugly mug. So virtual eye are just sorting out now. And as you can see, Kathleen is busy working out the numbers here. I won't disturb her. But she's working out the numbers here, looking at who's going to come third. As far as who's going to come first and second, we know it's either going to be Rohart and Guidu or Diaz and Prada. And let's have a look at Kathleen's maths, which I trust a lot more than mine. So absolutely, completely off the record. We think that it's Lars Grail in 4th. Is that correct? Hey, why don't you just say it, Kathleen?
Okay, with those finishes right there, off the record, finishing first in the last race of the series with 28 points total is Lars Schmidt-Grail and Samuel Gonçalves. And in third place, with a second in the last race with 23 points overall, is Torben Grail and Guillermo de Almeida.
Thank you. Well, we'll get a proper confirmation yet, but there we have it. Oh, my word. Diaz and Prada 3rd, Tenka and Bezzaretti 4th, Merkelbach and Bartel 5th, Pascalato and Burning 6th, Colanino and Colanino 7th, Reynolds and Lambertenghi 8th, Rohart and Guidu in 9th, and Guriev and Kushnir in 10th. I really don't want to say who's won this. I really don't. We've got this odd 0.3 of a point. I'm not going to say because I'm going to put a hoodoo on it. We're going to wait for the official verdict here because it is that close.
Yeah, this is higher math.
It is higher maths, and there's no way I'm going to trust my mathematics. We're going to leave it hanging like that. So you'll just have to wait and see at the moment. But shall we? Let's just have a look at the seconds there. Leave it as it is there, Ben, at the moment. That's great. So Diaz and Prada, yeah, they could have 13 seconds that could have made a difference, or in fact 14 the other way. So not much on there. 8 seconds. The lost one place for Rohart Guidu, or going the other way, 13 seconds at a gained a place. So we are getting down to seconds, definitely deciding on the 2015 Star European Champion. It has literally gone to the wire between Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada, and and Xavier Rohart and Sebastian Guidou. And we think we know, but we are going to hold off. We are going to hold off before we say anything, because I've been caught out on this before. So we're going to keep stum for now until we get something a bit more official. Right now, we've got Rachele Vitello back out on the race course.
Yes, I'm here, and last 10 to 15 boats are crossing the line for what is the last race of this European Championship 2015. So I've never been good at math, so I'm not gonna lose any time doing it. But I'm very anxious to see who's the first in the ranking and who's the European champion. So I'm waiting for you to tell me and to tell all of our followers who is the champion. So I was happy to hear that the Colanino father and son are the first Italian boats. So the Yacht Club Gaeta will be pleased to have one of their members be so ahead. And it might even make it to the podium for the European Championship. Not having so many Europeans on the lead. But I think the real battle is for who's the overall leader of this championship. So, have you done the math, Louis?
Hello, Rachele.
Louis, have you done the math? Yeah.
Well, three different. Hello, everybody out there. Just so you know what we're talking about, it's the 2015 Star European Championship. We've had an absolute blast here. We've got teams from 15 different countries. We've had collisions. We've had redress. We've had boats getting protested. We've even had our Rachele Vitello out in a rib getting protested by somebody. It's all been going on here. We've been magnificently looked after by the Yacht Club Gaeta. You couldn't ask for a warmer hug from a yacht club anywhere in the world. And three of us have done the maths. And as we say, just to confirm, race 7 winners are Lars Grael and Samuel Congalvez, Torben Grael and De Almeida second, and in third place Diaz and Prada. Now back down in 9th place, and again this is all off the record, conditional. Back in 9th place is Rohart and Guidou. But we've been doing some maths here, and we believe that, again, this is completely off the record, that the 2015 European champions are Xavier Rohart and Sebastian Guidou. We're going to have to get that confirmed. I don't know whether someone wants to explain the maths on that. I think we're gonna have to get that confirmed. But at the moment, three of us have done the maths, and Rohart and Guidou have won it by virtue of, quite frankly, a better discard. That's what it works out at. So I'm sorry to leave you hanging there. We'll scroll down the order there for the race 7, so you can see where everyone else has come. Where can people find out who's actually won this? They're going to have to wait till the results come up, aren't they? On the website. We'll stay online for a bit. So you'll see a holding screen, and we'll stay online for a bit. And if we hear in the very near future, we'll go back online and we'll let you know. So what we'll do is we'll put up a holding screen. That holding screen will change and say at a certain time locally we will give a result. If we haven't got the result by then, you're just going to have to wait until it's official. But Kathleen, it doesn't get closer than that, does it?
Yeah, that's what happens when you have so many sailors who are going the same speed and sailing smart. It's actually to be expected at a championship like this in the star class. And it comes down to the last race so often. And in this case, we're talking about what was it? It was just a few seconds that's going to make a difference here crossing the finish line. If there had been maybe one more boat ahead of Xavier, which we don't think there is, it would have made a difference. But if you just look at it, it's about 10-15 seconds that makes a difference between winning this championship or not. But that 15 seconds is a huge distance. And that's why we say every surfed on a wave, every little just meter that you can get can win you a championship or not. And there's so few sports. I think ski racing might be the only one where you see the clock ticking that fast and you're like, well, how could I didn't even lose by a second? And so, but in sailboat racing at the highest levels, that's what happens. It's the same thing with ski racing. It just less than a second can make a difference. And just like the top skiers who are going the same speed down the race course, that is what our sailors are doing at the top levels of star sailing. And it's great to see. And that's why they come back time and time again, just for the thrill of having to always work so hard and do your best. And that's what makes star racing.
I mean, I'll be honest, going into this last race, I honestly didn't think Rohart was going to get touched. I thought, he'll lose cover Diaz. He'll lose cover him, so he doesn't get into any kind of trouble. He get a penalty, but as long as he's loose covering him, he's never going to be 4 boats apart. But they're cleverer than that. They're smarter than that, aren't they? But both of them.
Yeah, it was probably going in today that would be really hard to get boats between them when you get into the front of the pack. Even we saw with the race between Torben Grell and Lars Grell, Lars just didn't have the boats. Once you get out in front, it's hard to put boats between you. And so when you get to the top of the fleet, it's hard to put the boats there. And it was interesting that both Xavier and Augie kind of got themselves more into the middle of the race course and fought their battle there. And that actually helped to get some boats between them. If they had stayed on the edges of the race course, that wouldn't have happened. But they kind of got into the mix, and that helped to get those boats in there, which created those points, which was really, really difficult for Augie to do.
Yeah. And then, the last roll of the dice, that last windward leg. I mean, they've got no idea. They still have no idea.
I know. Well, they're usually going out there. They have the scores written down on a piece of paper, and it gets really confusing. In sailboat racing, we have what's called a drop race, and that's what makes it a little bit confusing for our viewers also, and obviously us here in the studio to try to figure out who won. And that means that you get to discard your worst race from the series. And in sailboat racing, we have that because things happen out on the race course. We saw Xavier had a hole in his boat. Torben had damage to his boat as well, and those are things that are not in control of the sailors themselves. So we have the discard to be able to account for things like that, to allow a person to throw out their worst race, because other boats might do have infringements on you, and it's a way to enable a race to be a little bit more fair. Some people don't like it, and it makes the math a little bit more confusing for us, but it's something that's traditional in sailboat racing.
Yeah, and as you say, your worst result can skew the rest of them. Typically, as you say, Rohart and Guido couldn't do one race, and it turned out nothing to do with them. Now, they shouldn't be thrown out effectively of the regatta because someone else took them out. So I think I agree with the discard principle, but. Well, I think we need a breather. I think we might need something more than a coffee. All right, gelato that it is. Yeah, I think we need something more than a coffee. But I tell you what, Andy, are you happy to get a holding screen up and put a time on it? And say Andy will let you watch this beautiful virtual eye player going. But what we'll do is we'll put up a holding screen. We'll decide on a time. And at that time, we will make a broadcast. It might be that we don't know yet, but we'll put up a time for that broadcast on the screen. Let us just think about what makes sense on that time. So just keep the video running, and that time will pop up shortly. And thanks very much for listening in, and we'll give you some news in the next 5 minutes on when that cutoff's going to be. Okay.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Well, hello there. Yeah, we've been joined by. Well, she's managed to dry herself out. How was it out there, Raquel Vitello? Oh, Ben. Ben, what have you got there?
I didn't even have the chance to answer. Come on,
Okay.
I'm curious.
All
I'm
right,
curious.
here we go.
So
Now,
who's the European Championship?
well, the preliminary
Uh-huh.
European champion, okay? The preliminary European champion. But these points are correct, assuming no protests, etc. Okay, so...
Okay.
Right, well, we're going to do it from third up to first. Why not?
You're
eh?
gonna
bit,
have
bit
them
more,
go
bit more.
crazy,
Okay.
yeah.
So, in the bronze medal position for the Star European Championships at the Yacht Club Gaeta.
Wait. I want to know one thing. And I know you're going to hate me for this. We are now saying the overall, not the proper European podium, right? Is that a different thing?
No,
I mean, just Europeans will go on the European...
No. To explain, the event is held in Europe. But
Uh-huh.
anybody from
Can win
anywhere
it.
on the world
Okay,
can win it.
okay.
So
Just
this
to
is
make
the
sure.
European champion.
Okay.
And who will get a silver star.
Okay, yes.
Right?
That's
okay.
a silver event.
Yeah.
So,
regardless
anyone
of what country they're from, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So in third place, with a bronze medal at the Star European Championship, is Torben Grael and Guillaume de Almeida.
Woohoo!
So they're third, and this will give it away. And in second place by just 0.7 of a point, and we calculate 12 seconds. So by 0.7 of a point, in second place is Ogi Diaz and Bruno Prada.
well done.
Yes.
Well done.
So vive la France, the Star European Champion 2015. They have never won this before. Either of them is Xavier Rohart and Sebastian Guidou. So congratulations to them. Absolutely fantastic. And hopefully we'll have a chat with them later on. But we thought we'd stay online just to give you that. Remember, these are preliminary. We don't know if there's any protests out there or not.
I can't believe it. I mean, Louis, they are first with 19.3. And Ogi Diaz and Bruno Prada are second at 20. So it's, like you were saying,
less than a point.
0.7.
Less than a point. And,
Yes.
and one of those places we calculate was about 13 seconds.
And see, it was very good that Xavier actually asked for a redress that day, because he had a broken boat. He could have just said, oh, forget it. But he is a real champion, so he went for it. He fixed the boat, he went for redress, and he's taking home an European champion.
Yeah, and he discarded the last race. He didn't want to, but his actual worst race of the entire seven
It could have
race
stayed
series.
in.
Yeah, it was
today.
the last race. So congratulations to Xavier Rohart and Sebastian Guidou, and we hope to have a chat with them once they get in.
We will.
Yes, so but for now we're going to go off air. We really hope you've enjoyed the coverage here. The Star Sailors League team will be back in, well, you can tell us when we'll be back. When are we going to be in Lausanne?
We're going to be in Lausanne the second week of September. So from September 8th, where we're going to have a great opening at the Olympic Museum in Lausanne. And then from then on, we will move from Lausanne to Grandson, which is on the Neuchâtel Lake. And we'll have the first ever Star Sailors League Grand Slam.
Okay.
So it will be the Lake Grand Slam. And we are starting already to have some entries, and they're quite interesting top level entries, Louis. So it's not to be missed.
Okay, well, we're going to go out to the dock and catch up with Xavier Rohart, Sebastian Guidou, and Augie Diaz and Bruno Prada and all the rest. And we've got a prize giving a little later on, and I'm sure that's going to be a monumental occasion here at the Yacht Club Gaeta.
Our little Sebastian being the European champion. Can you imagine?
He's going to be smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah.
He really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Please pass us your comments, good and bad. We always like to improve what we're doing, and we'd love to hear from you all. There's various ways you can do it. Through Facebook, through a comment on YouTube, or just go to starsailors.com and get in contact with us. Thanks for being with us for this week at Yacht Club Gaeta.